There are a lot of outdated and bad characters in HSR, even despite the new Nova Flare system and wheel-sharing characters being more prevalent than ever. Some characters are simply not good. But while we always assume that the weakest kit has to be the worst, what if we thought about it a bit deeper? There are characters in this game who cost you valuable pulls who actually provide little to nothing now, and yet they go unchecked. Not anymore. Today, I'm going to talk about who are the real worst characters in HSR. The characters who have no real use besides being an alternative option, who are essentially wastes of pulls not long after their inclusion in the game, or yes, just characters with horrible kits. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, become a YouTube member down below, and with that said, let's get into it. For this video, I'm going to be talking about each of the main 3 roles that we have in Star Rail: DPS, Support, and Sustain. I have a character kind of written down for all of these that I'm going to talk about, who I think really represents the absolute worst of that specific role. We are going to start off with DPS, and while yes, I did make it a point to say that there are characters who waste your pulls and they intrinsically have less value because you have now wasted very significant value on them, that does not change the fact that Arlan really sucks. Guys, I really tried to not include him in this video, but like, we need to have a talk about this because seriously, what are we doing here? So Arlan lands purely on this list for his actual kit design being probably one of the most confusing and just bad things that I have seen in quite some time. His primary mechanic is, as we all know, he gains increased damage for every percent of HP he has lost, and it goes up to a maximum of 72%. That is Arlan's whole game plan. He is capable of draining his HP with his skill, and he does damage that way, and then he will gain increased damage the more he takes a beating. There are so many problems with this design. First of all, his ultimate does not have anything to do with HP at all. It does not restore HP, it does not drain HP, it does just normal damage, and that is literally it. It is just a blast ultimate. Following up on that, his skill is also only single target, which is really not good. As a destruction character, why does he have a single target skill and why is his ultimate the only thing that's blast? He is essentially just a freaking hunt character. I get it that back then, the identity of destruction was, oh hey, maybe they can take some damage and then that is a core part of the identity. Except it wasn't. Dan Heng IL did not do that. Destruction MC did not do that. Neither of those characters fit that path description. It was just Arlan being weird. So his skill and ultimate have basically no synergy, and only his skill actually assists him in unlocking the power from his talent. But then, you cannot even sustain that additional damage boost from his talent. Because guess what? He has a trace, where if his current HP is 30% or lower when defeating an enemy, it will restore his HP. This means he is actively losing out on that damage boost that he so desperately needs. What is the point? It makes 0 sense. And the worst part is, he has no crit anywhere in his kit at all. He doesn't even have like the Jingyuan trace, where if Jingyuan uses his skill, it increases his crit rate by 10%. He has none of this. Would you like to know what Arlan's other major traces are? Endurance. The chance to resist DOT debuffs increases by 50%. Repel. Upon entering battle, if Arlan's HP is less than or equal to 50%, so this is already worthless, because the only place you can actually lower your HP at the start of a battle is in the overworld. That's the only place Arlan could actually succeed too, so that makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't even want to read the rest of it, just that first line. That is only for overworld. That is unbelievable. His Eidolons don't really do anything to help him either. Yes, if his current HP percentage is below 50%, he does get a bit more added on damage. That is pretty nice out of the Eidolons. Overall though, these just suck. They do nothing for him. There's no crit. There's no like sort of pseudo HP scaling like Natasha had. If he had that E6 that Natasha had, honestly, we could at least have a world where he is not that bad. Or at least not unanimously the worst character in the game. But he doesn't even have that. Like, we are still just losing on every front. It is unbelievable, man. There is no rhyme or reason to this kit. To actually get the most use out of this kit, you kinda need him to be with a shielder. That way, he is still protected, but his HP will continuously be low. However, any good shielder is going to keep him permanently shielded. So you still lose. Like, if you're running Arlan with DHPT, you need to purposely play bad so that Arlan can lose his HP. And in the case that you're not playing bad and your shields are just gone, you're probably just gonna lose. I can look past the bad multipliers because you know what, this is an early game character, what are you gonna do? But the fact that this kit just has no rhyme or reason, no synergy, no nothing. This character was made in this game to die. He was put into this game so that we could have a really bad character that was a 4-star, and everyone could agree on that. That's what it genuinely feels like, because there is no way this kit should exist, especially when Sela and Jingyuan came out in the exact same version. There was at least a thought process with those two. Arlan does not have that. It is unbelievable. And yeah, he is still gonna sit as easily one of the worst characters in the game. Alright, now that I've torn Arlan a new one, I apologize to all my Arlan fans out there, all 3 of you. Let's talk about the other character who I think stands as one of the worst DPS in all of HSR. It is going to be the 5-star character, Argenti. So, I know, it feels a bit rude to put Argenti here, and I know some of you are probably questioning this decision. Argenti does have a place in the game right now. He is a actually really good Herda slave option. He works really well with the Herda. He is a great member of that team. If you are not using Anexa, you're not using mini Herda, and he actually has some places where he excels over all of the other options. That is pretty good, I will fully admit. That is not bad. But there is a very key problem with that. Argenti was meant to be a main DPS. A main AoE DPS. He is a character who was very much designed around the release of Pure Fiction. He was meant to be really, really great for that mode, and he was supposed to have some usability in all other content. We are genuinely using a 5-star character as a Herda slave, and he is not even the absolute best option. He is very good, yes, but there are other options that rival him. Or there are other situations where other characters can exceed his capabilities for the Herda. So at that point, you have a 5-star paperweight in your account that is doing nothing. A 4-star is competing with him. A newer 5-star in Anexa not only competes with him, but then actually gets stronger if you put him in the main DPS role, whereas Argenti will take 20 cycles to clear the current endgame. It is incomparable with Argenti to these other characters. His kit is just weak. He does not do enough damage. His primary mechanic was not really that powerful. Yeah, having the 2-level ult is really cool. It doesn't do that much damage. His talent and traces as well. His talent, he gets energy, but you need to hit enemies. Which means, again, you really want him to be in full AoE scenarios. Also, his talent just increases his crit rate. And you need to stack it up to 10 times anyway, so you need to do like 2 hits to get the maximum effect. For 15 crit rate, you need 2 whole turns. What is that? And yes, I know, there's a major trace that gives him a stack of Apotheosis. Wow, cool. We've just used a major trace to give him 1 stack of his talent that caps out at 10. What? How is that a valid use of a major trace? It's so bad. He also has some of the worst Eidolons of any 5-star character. There is really not even a single passable one in here. And I know that that can be a bit of a rough complaint. It's really not, when we have characters like Hwohwo, who had a good E1, Ronmei, who had a good E1, Sela, who had a decent Eidolon or two. There is just no way that these Eidolons were allowed to pass when those characters at least had a 1. They had one passable Eidolon, even up to the E4. His only okay Eidolon is E6, and it's an E6. People spend real pulls on this character just for him to get mogged by just about any other blast or AoE DPS, and for him to be made into a energy slave character. That is his only use nowadays. I don't care if he's good at it. That is an objective waste of a character, because there is no way anybody who does that still uses him for his intended purpose. He is not good as a DPS character. He is passable as a sub-DPS character, but if that is really all he is capable of, it is very easy to say he is one of the single worst characters in this entire game. That's all I have listed for DPS. Those two characters are just really, really rough, and I was very harsh on them, but I think it's very deserved. This next character, I think this is one that everybody kinda knows and expects at this point. In the support category now, the character who I think is the worst support in HSR, it is going to be Jiaoqiu. When it comes to other supports, there are worse ones. Hanya does not really have a defined niche or purpose. Yukong's buffs are really not that good, but she is at least a 4-star. And she is a free 4-star. You don't even have to try and pull for her. She can just appear on your account by playing the game. Jiaoqiu, on the other hand. Here is why I'm kinda shitting on Jiaoqiu, which I know everybody's been doing that for like the last year and a half, but it's kinda warranted. Jiaoqiu is a debuffer. He is a character who was built for Acheron, so the moment he came out, he had one character who he was destined to work with. It was a match made in heaven. It was amazing for Acheron. It kept her relevant for a very good bit. That does not change the fact that he was made for one character. He was hyper niche. In just about every single other scenario, a different support was going to perform better than him, or at least equal to him. Now, let's flash forward to modern day. Jiaoqiu is a character who you had to use pulls for. Going through the free options you can get in this game right now, you could get Welt, who is significantly better, and if you have him at E4, he is by far the best Acheron option in the entire game, and it is actually not close. He is in fact that powerful for her. You have Pela, a free option, a 4-star, who is in fact at least somewhat comparable to what Jiaoqiu is capable of. Then you have Robin, a more universal support, who is very good and you can get through the Golden Companion Spirit shop. You can also get Welt through the Golden Companion Spirit shop, or you can just get him through standard warps or losing 50/50s. All of that you can get in comparison to Jiaoqiu, and those are just more free options. If we're talking about purely debuffing options, Silverwolf received a buff to be a good Nihility debuffer over most other options. We have Tribby, one of the best damage increases in the game still. We now have Mortonak's Blade, who took his element and his path, just completely eviscerated by Mortonak's Blade. We even have Cypher, and Cypher, while she is a character who I know many people have mixed feelings about, that does not change the fact she has one of the most powerful ults in the game. Her overall damage amp is still incredibly solid, she is SP positive, and she is just still better in just about every other scenario than Jiaoqiu will be. There is simply no argument for Jiaoqiu. He does his job fine. I'm not trying to critique his actual kit, what he actually brings to a team. What he does is decent, it's passable. The problem is that there are free options and paid options. that are all better than him by a significant margin. It is really not close. Jiaoqiu is just the worst support relative to the value you would expect in this entire game. There is nothing there with him that is going to make him better than almost any other character, and that just sucks. He is in desperate need of a Nova Flare, and I very much hope it comes soon, because there is never going to be a reason to get him going forward. Unfortunately, that was the only support I had on my list. I really do think Jiaoqiu stands above the rest that much as a bit of a waste. That feels really sad, damn. This video was a bad idea, man. I'm just sad. Alright, we're almost done. We are now moving on to the sustain category, and I have 2 characters picked out. The first one is going to be Bailu. Now, Bailu, the reason I think she is one of the worst characters in the game, despite me saying in the past that I actually really like Bailu, I like what she brings to the table, the problem with Bailu is purely the fact that better options are more readily available compared to her. Gallagher is a free character. Lynx is a free character and on a comparable level. You can lose to Fu Xuan in your 50-50 banner. EffMTee was free. Aventurine was free. And Luocha was a character you could get in the shop. So is Huohuo. When you compare all of that to Bailu, who yes, you can get on standard banner, or you can lose to on 50-50s, or you can also get in the shop. All of those characters just have significantly more value than her, and the fact that she does not have a cleanse is a really, really big hit nowadays. Is it the most essential thing? I actually think that's a little overblown. There have been a lot of fights in the last few months, or in the last year or so, that you just need stronger healing more than anything else. Actually having just strong healing does win out in a lot of cases. And she has a unique mechanic as well, which will restore HP when you get hit, which out of turn healing, absolutely huge at this point. She just still doesn't have enough juice to match up to all of the other options I just said, and especially how readily available a lot of them are. There is also a character like Gepard. I could have put Gepard on this list. So why didn't I? It is purely because of the existence of the Ecor Memo Sprite Judge of Oblivion. Gepard is at least a shielder, which now with DHPT not being free and preservation options being incredibly limited, just by having the ability to shield your party, Gepard does unfortunately provide slightly higher value in those niche scenarios than I think Bailu does. I don't really like that personally because I think Bailu is genuinely better than Gepard, but compared to the competition in their respective paths, yeah, I kind of got to give it to Gepard, and that sucks. It's sad to say that Bailu is just not that good, and she is one of the worst characters in the game relative to the value you would expect, but yeah, that one is just a tough one. I think the argument makes a lot of sense, and we kind of just gotta accept that. Sorry, Bailu. Thanks for helping me clear that anomaly one time. So Bailu was obviously not great, but again, she is at least a character you can get just by doing standard banner pulls, or if you lose your 50-50s or whatever. That's not that bad. This is a character you actively have to pull for that truly at this point in the game has almost no value. The last character of today's video is going to be Lingsha. Now I know people always get mad at me when I bring this up, and I don't care. Lingsha is not that good. Let me break this down real quick. As of right now at this point, her heals are meh. They're not bad, but they're not really that good. She is a character you have to pull for, and Gallagher exists, who also works perfectly with the break archetype. He fits very well. But then, the other point we need to think about here, break teams don't run with a sustain anymore. I can show multiple clips at this point. If you are running like Firefly Break, unless we have a debuff, like the current King stage, where it is Hemivore, where it will drain your HP to the point that it is fatal. Unless that is the case, Break teams do not need sustains. They are built to be tanky, and they are built to win fights quick. You do not need a sustain. And if you do, Gallagher exists. Or even DHPT. DHPT has been a good option for break teams, surprisingly. So when you think about it in the lens of even her best team doesn't need her, where does that leave Lingsha? As a DPS? Yeah, you can do that, but you want to know something? If you are in the position to run DPS Lingsha, you know what else you could do? Run DPS Himiko. It will work just as well, if not better. Once again, I have multiple clips of me playing through Pure Fiction, my friends playing through Pure Fiction, where Himiko just does 9 follow-up attacks in a row and clears the entire wave, without wasting a single point of action value. So even if you want to use an AoE character on your break team for like Pure Fiction, you can just use Himiko, and it will still work perfectly fine. Then, we can look at her usefulness to other teams. Yeah, she has a follow-up attack. You want to know who else has follow-up attacks? Aventurine and Danheng PT, and they both offer more to a conventional follow-up team because they either increase normal damage taken or increase attack. That is more valuable than what Lingsha is bringing. Lingsha also cannot really be a good substitute for a team like Evernight or Casterus. Her heals are just not enough to keep up with those health bars in most cases. She simply does not have a place in the game right now that is fitting. Does she work in a lot of scenarios? Yes, she is still fully capable of working in many scenarios. But you want to know who else can still work in a bunch of those scenarios? BHPT, Woho, Luocha. You have multiple other options that are still highly competitive that still can perform just as well as her. Lingsha really is not a bad character, but when you look at what you actually need from a sustain and the value that they bring to their specific teams, Lingsha brings none of it. None of what any of these teams need. And she is a character you have to actually use pulls on. When you look at it through that lens, I do truly think she is one of the worst pulls in all of Honkai Star Rail. I just know I'm gonna get so much immense hate for that last one, but yeah, I really do stand on it. I don't know what to tell you guys. That is my opinion. That is the list I had written out, and I truly do think a lot of it makes sense if you look at it through the lens that I described, through the criteria that I had. Feel free to disagree, of course. I'm not gonna judge you guys. Just don't call me mean things in the comments. I know that's hard for some of you, but please don't. Alright, that's gonna wrap us up for today, so I really hope you guys enjoyed. I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, and I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye!